fellow humans. So I did finish that first paracord whip that I showed you last time. I took the whole wraps off the handle like I did in the video, but I actually did finish it in a way that I'm fairly happy with. So I've got it right here. And I did measure it. This is about 4.5 feet. So we've got an all pink handle now. And I did a 6x7 3-pass Turk's head knot here. Now, the reason I say I'm mostly happy with it, I'm not 100% happy with it, is the base that I was tying this over, I wish that it stuck out more on the bottom part here so that these wraps on the bottom had a little bit more of like a step to grab onto. But it looks way better than it did before. It doesn't have those weird gaps in it anymore, so A+ on that. I did also take this whip outside and give it a real try, and it works great. It cracks. It's beautiful. I only hit myself in the face 3 times. Wasn't that bad. And because practicing with it went so well, I came home and felt like 10 million times more inspired to make another whip. So yesterday, after I got home I went out and did an outdoor rope shoot with two of my friends, and I played with the whips in the woods after that, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I really want to make like a shorter one that I can actually practice with indoors. And cue this adorable little guy. So I made this all in one night, which is kind of ridiculous. I don't know why I felt the need to do it all in one sitting. This super cute little 3-foot paracord snake whip. And I made this one a lot different than the first one. Although my favorite thing about it is definitely the handle. I could have done a better job at hiding where I had to join the paracord together because I ran out at one point, and that shiny bit kind of annoys me. But aside from that, the knot came out super tight and nice. It has like the strings on the bottom there, I'm not worried at all about those slipping off. It's super secure. I used a thick piece of leather, some artificial sinew, electrical tape, and finishing nails to really tack that leather on here, so this thing is nailed into the paracord whip. It's not going anywhere, and then all these wraps are going to keep everything nice and tight. And I'm really happy with the construction on this one. And I love how tiny and adorable it is, but it still makes a great crack, even for being so small. But the thing I love about it is I can actually use it inside. Like, I can show you how this whip works. And that's the whole reason why I thought it might be nice to make some shorter whips, because the 4.5-foot one, like 4.5 feet doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're inside, that's a lot. Versus this one, it still works great, and I can actually practice with it in the house without worrying about breaking something, hurting myself as much. You still should definitely wear eye protection if you're totally new, which, yeah, I hit myself when I was practicing with it. I hit myself right here a few times. It's not really red today, but I think you can see still, yeah, where I hit my arm a few times on the big whip. This one doesn't have as much as like a fling back on it, so I haven't really hit myself with this one yet. It's really just the longer one that's a bit unwieldy. And side by side, let me show you how much of a difference there is. So width-wise, the first one is definitely a bit thicker than the second one. I think that has to do with, I did a different core method, but I like the second one a lot more because this one, it's not crazy pliable versus this one, it bends a lot easier. So it's a little bit easier to use. And then you can see I made my end knot on the second one much shorter than the first one, which made wrapping it a lot easier. I didn't run into that same gappy problem on this one. It worked the first time. I didn't have to do this more than once. This is like the 9th attempt on this one, and I still don't love it because I don't like how the pink knot, it doesn't have as much of a lip to it, so I'm worried about these strands coming up. I mean, this one's my personal whip, so if anything happens to it, I can just fix it. But what I'm thinking about doing is actually untying it again and then chopping it down and then putting that strip of leather that I now have, which I can actually show you because I have it right here. So as you can see, it's very, very thick leather that I use to nail onto the base of the handle there. Apparently we already had a bunch of this around the apartment. I didn't really need to order it online like I did, because it cost me a good $20 for, I think it's like 60 inches worth, but I figure I'm only using that much per whip handle. This is going to last me multiple whips, so I was like, whatever. But my boyfriend was like, you realize we already had leather strips, right? I'm like, whatever. But yeah, the core on this red one is made a lot differently because the pink one, it has lamp cord strung through the BB, and it's like, I think 3 of them wrapped around one piece of non-gutted paracord, versus the red one, the core is only one piece of paracord, but that one piece of paracord has been loaded with steel BBs. So it's a very heavy, sturdy, pliable piece of paracord, versus on the pink one, because it was multiple strands, I had to really like bind those together, and the core is very bulky on the pink whip. Now lengthwise, the red one's obviously much shorter, but let me show you just how much shorter. So end to end, the red one stops here, and the pink one just keeps going. So this might actually, maybe I should remeasure these, because this looks like, is it really, oh, that's probably like 1.5 feet though. So I know I called the red one 3 foot and this one 4.5. That looks, yeah, no, that's about right. But it's really funny how much that, 18 inches makes a huge difference when you're using it, because the red one, it's so easy, it's so user-friendly, versus the pink one's challenging. And I really enjoy that. I would actually like to make a longer whip and get like a good full 6 foot, maybe even an 8 foot, and really experiment with them all. I'm so excited to make more whips, you guys. I'm actually going to be starting one tonight. Maybe I'll start it with you guys and show you. I already have my core cut. My plan is to make another, pretty much a replica of this guy, except I want to, instead of doing all red on the overlay, I'm going to do a strand of black in there as well, so it's going to be kind of stripey. I was debating on putting like another decorative Turk's head knot at the end of the handle, but because it's a snake whip, there isn't really a solid handle, so there isn't really an end to it, and I think I just find it slightly visually boring because it's all red, aside from the end knot and the fall here being black. But I don't know. I really do love this whip, and I'm excited to make more of this style. I want to make this exact one in a few different colors. I'm planning on selling at least a couple of them, but I want to make one for me to keep. So maybe I need to get some more pink paracord and make like an all pink whip. That would be so cute. I was even showing my coworkers, and I showed her a video of me snapping this whip, and she was just like, I want one. Like, that just looks like so much fun, and it really is. So yeah, I think, why don't we go ahead and start our new little baby snake whip while I'm chit-chatting with you guys. I already cut my core here to the same length I did for the red one. This is, actually that's a lie, I made this an inch longer because the way I did my handle, I was worried because the way I do this, and again, I'm going to link to Nick's whip shop because this is all from his tutorial. I learned everything I know from you, Nick. Bow down to the master. But the way, at the end, the reason why the red one's so nice is I actually did cut the end. Like, I cut all those knots off versus this one. I just kind of built around them. That's why it's so much bigger. I used my fancy raptor shears, which were supposed to be for my rope, but I'm just going to have to clean them off because I got a little bit like paracord dust on them. They're really fancy medical shears. Because I don't have a saw. I need to get like a hand saw. Add that to my mental shopping list. Everyone needs a hand saw, right? You can even use like the flat side as like a kind of fear play impact toy. It'd be kind of fun. I'm into that. Yeah, I want to do that now. I'm gonna need to get a saw. Anyway, I want to leave a little bit of extra so that when I cut it off, I'm not worried about the BBs coming out the end. Because that was my big concern about cutting the handle on the red whip. Because the BBs go in this up until that knot I just made. That knot is what's keeping the BBs from flying out the other end of this paracord. And I'm just going to singe the end real quick so that I don't end up with fraying paracord everywhere. Because that's just obnoxious, even though this is going to get cut off. And then, yeah, we're just going to start loading our BBs, which is a very tedious process, but it's very worth it as well. In this case, I'm making my little entry hole for the BBs. What am I, 5? Am I really laughing at that? I'm just, again, singeing it because having paracord fraying all over the place while you're working with it's pretty obnoxious, and I don't want to deal with it. There. I should probably have gotten something to put the BBs in. Oh well. We'll just use the old lap. Ye old lap for this one. And yeah, loading the paracord is literally just popping in a BB and then slowly working it down all the way to the bottom, which kind of hurts my nails. There we go. It kind of loosens up after the first few I found when I was doing this last night. Yeah, and then they go down and just kind of sit there. There's my first BB. And I gotta do that for the core, like the amount of BBs, I went until there was 12 inches worth of BBs because it's a 3-foot whip and I want the first third of it to be the weight because that's the part that you hold and that's how whips work. But yeah, it's just, I had so much fun cracking it, and I've used whips before I started making them, which I only started making them like a month ago, and I'm already on my 3rd whip because I'm a woman obsessed. I had this, like, I don't think it's here. I think it's at my old house. Next time I'm there, I'll grab it and I'll show you how pathetic this whip is. It's like, it cost me $30 at a sex store that had some impacty type toys, but they didn't really have anything nice. I mean, it's a sex store. It's not like it's a specialty, actual BDSM store. That being said, it's still a very cute store, a lot of cute clothes. But I bought this whip there for like $30, and it's this, I don't know if it's even real leather or not. I imagine not for $30. It can't be. It's probably just some kind of weird, cheap faux leather. But it's just not a great whip. Like, the weave on it is really sad, and I don't think it would ever actually crack like a real whip. But that one I got to have, to use on a person, not to just play with not to crack like a real whip. So it's just kind of a play whip, if you will. Versus these, so I'm used to the idea of like play whips, like, swinging it and hitting a target and like just being accurate with where you're swinging it based on how long the whip is. So the idea of being able to crack the whip without hitting something and just being able to do it in midair with that like special wrist motion that comes along with it was just a really fun new way to use it, which is funny because I'm pretty sure that's how they're intended to be used. But I'm curious to take some more classes because whips are one of those... Whips are really a lot like rope in the sense that it's not a kink you can just walk into without any knowledge and do without taking some sort of lessons and, you know, becoming knowledgeable about it, because you're just going to hurt someone. Like, you don't want to just pick up a whip and start wailing on somebody because your aim's going to be terrible. You're not going to know how to control it properly. You're going to hurt yourself. It's very easy to get hit on the backlash of the whip, which sucks. But it's also, if you haven't practiced and don't have that motor function of, like, the muscle memory is the word I'm looking for, that muscle memory of knowing where the whip's going to land when you're cracking it, you're going to hit somebody in the side of the ear, it's going to wrap around in all the wrong places. It's not going to be a good time. I think whips are definitely something that you have to practice. And it's really unfortunate that my local community, there is a whip practice, like a public whip practice that they post the events on FetLife every month. But it's on like a Wednesday, and I work nights, and I can't go because I'm at work, because otherwise I would love to go and actually get some instruction. So I'm disappointed that I can't go to that. Maybe I'll like just take a random vacation day one day and go to the whip meetup. Fortunately, my play partner has taken classes with whips before, so he's one who actually did teach me how to crack the whip, because I had no freaking idea. So I'm grateful to him for that. And yeah, I want to learn more, considering I'm really coming from the ground up here. Like, I understand the construction of the whip, and I think it's going to be really cool to see how knowing how to use the end product will affect how I make it. For example, the pink one, when I put it together and I was playing around with it a little bit in the house, yeah, I didn't really have any issues with it. Nothing came apart. I was like, oh yeah, this construction's pretty solid. But then when we were using it outside yesterday, like at one point the fall actually came off. The cracker. The cracker actually, this part came flying off at one point. I guess that's not completely unheard of. It just happens sometimes, and it's because I didn't tie a big enough knot on the end here, so we fixed that. And I also redid this part because I noticed that even though I braided super tight, the sheer velocity and inertia of the whip as I was using it, it kind of caused the paracord to shift towards the end. And I noticed that it was slipping off the end of the core. So I tied a knot right at the end of the core to keep all those plates in place so that it will not come undone with use, and it should be much sturdier now. But that's what I mean by understanding what's going to happen when it's used is going to change how I make the whip. And knowing how the whip is made is going to help me understand how it works when I'm using it. And I really enjoy things like that. Like, I'm a very much from the ground up kind of person when it comes to my approach on many things. Like in video games, let me be a nerd here for a second. Hopefully you're familiar with the game RuneScape. It was my first MMORPG I ever played. My brother and I used to fight over AOL dial-up internet to play RuneScape after school. Like, you couldn't call the house because we were always online playing RuneScape like nerds. I actually still have my account, I think. I should totally log on. I don't want to pay for membership again. Rant. Anyway, so in RuneScape, if you've never played it, it's one of those open world kind of games where, you know, there's quests, you can go fight other players out in the wilderness, do like a PvP sort of thing. But the reason why I liked playing the game was you can go mining for ore, and then you can use that ore to smith into your own armor and weapons, and like you can go fishing for food and then you cook the food yourself to have the stuff to heal when you're out on your adventures. Or I really enjoy, like, I actually used to make money in that game by, you could go pick flax like the plant, and it would spawn. There are certain places in different worlds that it spawned, and I would just sit there and pick flax for like hours, because this is the tasks that nobody else wanted to do. And this was back before like bots really existed, so it was actual players doing this kind of crap, not just, computers with macros running on them doing it all for somebody, not anyone actually sitting at the keyboard. But I would pick all this flax, and then I would go bring it to a loom and weave it into bowstrings, because if you wanted to get your fletching level up, an easy way was to carve arrows and bows. But if you're going to go through all the effort of cutting down trees to carve the bows, do you really want to go pick all the flax to weave into bowstrings? People would want to pick a step and just do that step. And so I would go do the tedious steps that other people didn't want to do and make money off of it. I would sell 1,000 bowstrings for 100,000 gold, because that's what they were worth, and that's how I made money in that game, because I'm freaking, I don't know, probably autistic, considering this is just the kind of activity I find fun, stuffing BBs into a piece of paracord for hours. It doesn't actually take hours. I'm already this far. That's at least 3 inches, so it doesn't really take that long. It just does take a while. But anyway, I'm gonna keep working on this tonight. Maybe we'll see how far I get. I have to work really early in the morning, so I probably shouldn't stay up all night. But I might stay up all night because I want to finish this whip so I can play with it. Because I might be selling the red one to a friend of mine if he enjoys it. So I'm going to his house tomorrow, and I'm gonna let him play with it. And if he really likes that one, I'll just let him keep that one. But if not, then this one will probably end up being the one that I'll sell, because I wanted to do the black with the red overlay. But I'm gonna let you go. Thanks for staying and chatting with me about one of my many weird passions, and I will keep you updated next time. Bye!